Hi, everyone. My name is Claire Ma, and I'm currently a postdoctoral research fellow for CAsToR at the University of Michigan School of Public Health. I earned my PhD in political science from the University of Pennsylvania, focusing on American and comparative politics and political economy. At CAsToR, I currently work on 3 different projects. The first one focuses on comparative case studies of tobacco flavor policy in 6 jurisdictions. These jurisdictions span several U.S. states, Canada, and Europe. As part of this project, I am working with Dr. Holly Jarman at the University of Michigan to understand the experiences of policymakers in regulating tobacco flavors, the context in which these policies are developed and implemented, and their challenges and lessons learned. We're building these case studies through semi-structured interviews with policymakers at multiple levels of government, as well as with advocates and researchers. We're also conducting document reviews of policies and laws so that we can better understand how the policies are written and how they're being implemented. By looking at cases in the US and beyond, we can compare the policymaking experiences across jurisdictions and see what factors and contexts might help or hinder tobacco regulation. Our goal in this project is to provide substantive case studies that can guide both researchers and policymakers in developing better tobacco control policy. We're also working to incorporate the findings from our qualitative research into computational models and to understand how policymakers use modeling and data in their own work. The second project that I'm working on focuses on systematic reviews of tobacco-related research, which is necessary to understand the current state of research findings in the field. For this part of the project, I have the privilege of working with Dr. Jamie Hartman-Boyce, a leader in the world of systematic reviews. My work in this area contributes to building a more reliable evidence base for informing tobacco regulatory policy, while also giving me more exposure to the most cutting-edge research in the field. I also focus for CAsToR on policy dissemination, and so given my experience and interest in policy-oriented careers, it's crucial that researchers effectively communicate their findings, not only to other researchers in the field, but also to the policy community and to the larger public. As part of this project, I'm involved in creating policy dissemination products that can inform diverse audiences about the most pressing issues in public health related to tobacco. While part of this work allows me to use my interest in science communication and design, it also gives me the opportunity to interface with policymakers and to better understand how research is translated into policy. So my background is in political science. I did my PhD in American and comparative politics, and I wrote my dissertation on the history of health status discrimination in the US and the role of interest groups in consumer protection policies and privacy issues in personal health information. And so moving into my current role in tobacco regulation was a bit of a pivot for me in terms of the specific topic in health policy. But I actually have found that there's quite a bit of continuity in terms of the focus on consumer protection issues, health and equity, as well as the politics of policymaking that involves dedicated interest groups. I was drawn to this field of tobacco regulatory science for a couple of reasons beyond just these similarities. First of all, bridging academic and applied research has long been a very strong professional goal of mine. I previously worked in policy evaluation prior to my PhD, and so working in tobacco regulatory science now presented me with an opportunity to work on an issue that really matters for public health and for health equity. Given the outsized role that tobacco policy plays and that tobacco plays in preventable cancer, it's very motivating to work in an area that has the potential to affect our population's health. Second, tobacco regulatory science is a field that sees a lot of change and thus demands a lot of creativity from both researchers and policymakers alike in how they respond to the industry. Given my prior experience in researching health information systems and how the government regulates technology, I found it very fascinating to see how the field grapples with such rapid change. And for political scientists, tobacco regulation presents a lot of questions about the political economy of public health. So my advice for people interested in entering this field is that you should never discount what you might be able to bring to the table. So I came into this field with very limited exposure to formal tobacco regulatory research, but I have found that my experience in policy research more broadly and my understanding of regulatory politics has been definitely transferable across topics. I also want to emphasize that there is a place for qualitative and mixed methods researchers in this work. If we share goals to better understand tobacco policy, how it varies across jurisdictions, the health effects of tobacco products, these collaborations between researchers can improve the models that are used to inform tobacco regulation. Lastly, it is very important that you find great people to work with. And so I'm very lucky to be surrounded by generous and supportive people. The team at CAsToR has really helped me make my transition to this field much easier than I could have ever expected. And so it's great to be part of this team. And thanks so much. I'm very excited to delve even deeper into this work.